All right, guys, welcome back to another live stream here. Messing with my light because it seems a little brighter than normal. Welcome, guys. Again, we're just doing continuing with our weekly live streams. We do have a poll going for those of you guys that are catching this after the fact. Just messing with some of the features YouTube has put out. So right now there's a poll going to best Powerstroke engine because why not? I think that's an important one to get out there. As people kind of start strolling in, we're going to just kind of go with some of the common questions I've gotten here recently. On another page, I actually have a lot of recent questions that I've been getting up and just some things we're going to comment on. And I think that would be kind of a nice way to start this live stream. The last one had a lot of support and a lot of people coming back, so that was a lot of fun for me. Hopefully, as this one gets in the swing of things, we see the same. So, people normally start trickling in the first 5 minutes. That kind of tends to be where we hang out. So in the poll, we got 2 votes so far, one for the 7.3 and one for the 6-liter. It'll be interesting to see what that happens and see as questions kind of start popping into the chat on why people pick one or the other in the poll that we're going to run going. We're going to run it for at least the first 30 minutes, maybe the whole time that we're doing. And a 6.4, I feel like somebody hit the 6.4 just for entertainment purposes, but it'll be interesting. There's an argument, I think, for each of them to talk about just how great they really can be, but all of them kind of have some caveats and some downsides to them. So Lego, nice. So I'm going to take it Lego has the 6.4 in there. I still say the 6.4 is one of the nicest looking Ford trucks ever made. It was such a nice refresh on that front end when it first came out. The compound turbo setup from the factory also very cool. The turbos probably weren't sized the best because I know they can go through turbos and not a heating issue like early 6.7s had, but very cool setup. I really love all of them. As one day I plan to do builds on all of these trucks on the channel. Maybe not crazy outlandish builds, kind of like my 6-liter has become, but I do plan to do builds on all of them. So those of you guys just joining, first, don't forget to hit that like button, helps the channel out. Then get in the poll and let's see your vote on which one of the Powerstrokes you guys like best. And then also drop down in the comments here and kind of get in the chat. Lego, how many miles does your 6.4 have? And CV Customs still. If it was going to let me put more in, I was going to actually start putting in IDI stuff. I was going to throw the 6.9 in there. But yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this poll feature moving forward. I think I'm gonna try to do a lot of them, or at least one each time. But the BD throttle controller, I sold the truck that has that installed, and I like it. It's a neat feature. I don't know that I would spend money for it, because essentially what it does is it really just makes the throttle, like when you press in, say 10%, it might be as if you're pressing in 30% instead. So I don't know that it's really like a necessity to have. It was nice. I certainly don't hate it. I like the BD throttle controller. I do think it's one of the nicer ones out there. Banks makes a nice one, and many of you guys, know I'm not always the I'm not always the biggest supporter of some of their stuff. But the one they do have, it is pretty cool. So it looks like I just pulled up Pedal Monster. That's the name of it. So they're priced very similarly. If I were to buy another one, I would probably consider the Banks. I would need to do a little more research on it, but I'd probably consider the Banks for now. However, the BD one was really nice, but they're pretty much the same price, so I'm not sure which one I'd actually end up with. But I'd probably look some. I want to say Banks is what I would try right now. I would have to double check that with some reviews and just see how it overall functions. I'm looking on here quick. There does seem to be a lot. There, I shouldn't say a lot. Amped is another one that's out there. That's from Edge. Edge normally makes decent stuff, so that could be kind of neat. One of the cool things with the BD throttle booster was you could actually make it less. You could kind of pull out some of your throttle, and the reason I thought that'd be kind of neat was really for when like crappy weather. You know, when I have run smaller turbos on the 6-liter, it can slide around a lot in a little bit of bad weather. So that was always one I like to use it for that. At the same time, again, you can always turn it back up. When is SEMA? SEMA would be a cool show to go to. SEMA 2025. November. I might be able to do SEMA. That'd be a cool one to definitely go check out. I've never been, and I would like to try it to go to at some point. Would still have my 6.0 if the truck didn't rot away around it. I do like my current 6.7. William, which 6.7 do you have? And that sucks to hear about your 6-liter. I know at one point mine will need a full renew, which sucks because it's just pain in the butt. But I would definitely at some point like to kind of go over everything. So there's 9 of us here. We got 9 votes in the poll. We got 9 votes in the poll. We have no likes on the video yet, guys. If anybody wants to get up there and hit the like button, show your support for the channel. And if you haven't, don't forget to hit the poll and let me know what your favorite what your favorite Powerstroke engine is. So far, the 6-liter is winning by a fair amount. I lost my spot. 2013, good year on the. That's the first year they went back to steel bearings in the turbos, so they're normally more reliable. Although you can fit the newer style on there, which I do recommend if your factory one ever fails. Let's see here. 177 miles running strong with a 350 tune daily, but never wide open throttle or burnouts. Always keep an eye on EGTs. That's definitely a good way to. I don't know that I live on a hot tune like that. Lego, what do they say that tune actually puts down, like power wise? You know, what does it actually do, or are you a little unsure? Lots of 6.0s at SEMA this year. That makes sense. They're great trucks, and they're from Powerstroke. The only thing you have to really contend with is the EGR, which is kind of easy. It's really not that big of a deal on that truck anymore. You know, we know what's wrong with them. We know how to fix them. But it's the pre-DPF stuff, the exhaust stuff that everybody hates. I imagine there's probably a fair amount of Dodge and Chevy's pre-DPF too. Best year Super Duty. That's kind of hard. Now it won't let me do another one until I have the old one done. So we'll run this poll a little bit longer, then we'll switch to best year Super Duty in general. That's a tough one because I love the 2020s. The 2020s, I think, are some of the coolest looking Ford trucks that were ever made. I really like all of them. If I had the money and time, I would buy each and every one of them. Have you seen Repair Geek's video on diesel additives? I have not seen that, but it sounds like one I should check out. I pull it up here. What was said in it that you liked? What makes you bring it up? I forget what you just said it is. Repair Geek diesel additive. So I will check that out later after the live stream. Those of you guys just joining us, don't forget to check out the poll and vote on your favorite year. Well, I should say best Powerstroke engine. Let me see here. Is there anything that can make a 99 through 04 ride better? I have to look up that style spring. I've heard people say they help. Things people do to help them ride better. The 99 through 04 have a shorter leaf spring. So some people were modifying them and putting the 08 style spring on, or on the rear, which is a longer leaf spring. I believe it moves the front mounting point forward a bit. I know some people do that. There's some high-end lift kits can be helpful to have that have more springs, but they're a softer rated spring. Excuse me. Cab mounts is one that does not get enough conversation. Some of what makes them ride so rough is their cab mounts are kind of shot. So there's some budget silicone ones that are available now on Amazon that are basically knocking off of S&B. The S&Bs are like $500 for a whole pair with hardware, which is pretty reasonable compared to OEM. That's the one I would personally recommend for your truck to give it a better ride quality. Other than that, like I say Carly makes a 99 through 04 F250 lift. I've heard the Carly kits are really nice. It might not be Carly. It might be Icon. That being said, I don't think, like, I have a rough country, which is obviously pretty budget, and I think it rides pretty nice all in all. I'm just trying to find you something here from one of the nicer. Good shocks go a long way too. A good high-end shock. A lot of people put cheap shocks on their truck. It's a bad idea. These are heavy trucks. A nice shock is going to help you a lot. Yeah, Icon has looks like Icon has lift kits for these trucks. And that's what I'd go with. They're expensive, but if you're going to get a shot at having a good riding leaf spring truck, going to something higher end is going to be one of your better bets. Icon would probably get it. The nicer shock you can buy is also going to help. I see Steve has Kings down there. Kings have a really good reputation. I've used the Bilsteins. They're good. In my opinion, they're still good. But they've gotten to a point where they're more like entry level to like a nicer overall shock compared to what's out there now. But, you know, Fox, Kings, Icon, I'm sure Carly makes something, although they might be partnered with somebody as well. But any of those are definitely going to be it. They also get very expensive. Bilsteins you can get for around $300, and I think they're very helpful and help the truck ride quite nice as well. But cab mounts is where I would start. So 2020 has a small screen, and in 22 they went to the big screen. I'm going to take it. Taking the 38. Lego, that'll definitely help. I don't think mud tires run super nice. Although a lot of people like the hybrid tires that have like a mud terrain outer lug pattern and like an all-terrain inner. I do prefer just an all-terrain personally on my trucks. That tends to be what I run. Big fan of the Nitto Terra Grappler. Even some cheaper. No, the one cheap company that used to make up one I like, Hercules, they stopped making the tire I like. So that's unfortunate. Toyo makes nice tires as well. Those are probably my two favorites for tires. That being said, I need to do some research because I am getting ready to see what's out there. I do imagine Toyo and Nitto are probably still pretty high up there. We got some moving around here in the voting. I'm shocked the 6.7 isn't doing better right now. The 6.7 is tied with the 6.4. And the 6 liter is winning with 55% of the vote so far. We only have 11 votes in, so nothing too crazy. I'm trying to think if there's any other ride improvements that can happen out there. 6.4 is good when it's running. I do like the 6.4 trucks. They make me a little more nervous. I don't know as much about them. Haven't done any 4x4 launches with the 38s. I would be careful doing 4x4 launches in a 6.4 unless it's pretty built. Although they're fast, man. They were fast at a time where we didn't really it was before 6 liters were figured out as well as they are now, how to make, relatively cheap power with them. Like you can make a fair amount of power with not a crazy amount of money spent. Like it's really a big set of injectors, a fuel system, and a turbo. You make big power. You can make pretty decent power on a 6 liter. But it wasn't always that way. There was a time the injector and turbo setup I'm running on my 6 liter would make 100 horsepower less, and that was considered the best tuning of that time. Just got studded 6.0. First injector is weak. Do I need to replace them all, or is a stock tune fine? So, Billy, what I would do is before I replace any injector, I would verify your fuel pressure. What is your actual fuel pressure doing? So there's a test port on the fuel bowl under the hood. And you want to hook a gauge up to that, but make sure there's line to basically tape that gauge to your windshield, or if you have an Edge CTS, plumb in a gauge and run it to your monitor. But you basically want to be able to verify your fuel pressure while driving. Put your, if you have tunes already, put one of the higher tunes in and basically go floor it, getting onto the highway and see that it holds pressure. If it is holding at least 45 psi minimum, preferably more like 50 psi, I'd say 50 to 50 psi I wouldn't be worried about it at all at the moment, but I would plan to keep an eye on your fuel pressure. One of the most common ways 6 liter injectors die is low fuel pressure. That pump, they're getting tired, or they put a cheap pump in to replace the old factory one and it's not keeping up. You can try a blue spring mod because the blue spring in the fuel bowl gets weak over time. So if that's happening, a blue spring mod will actually fix that entire issue. But if your pump's bad, you'll need to replace the pump. I would do a Ford blue spring, not the cheap ones that you find all over, because they're very inconsistent in the amount of fuel pressure that they provide to the truck. I would test that first. From there, if your fuel pressure is okay, I'd say you're probably okay to replace a injector. I would probably at least replace an entire bank. If you're replacing, I think driver side is even number. So if you're replacing, number 2 injector, I would replace 4, 6, and 8 at the same time. If you can afford it, it's not a bad idea to just put a fresh set of injectors in. Most people think they need to go bigger on them, and honestly, you don't. Going to just a factory setup, most people are never going to do a build that's going to require a lot. It's not really what they want, because a stock 6-liter with a with a hot tune-in is a fun truck to drive. It really is, even with the stock turbo. But if you do want to go bigger, I would go very mildly bigger. Especially if it's 206 on original injectors, I would test your fuel pump out. If you don't want to tune it, that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that, man. I would definitely go stock injectors. You could go Warren premium stock replacements. I like their premium line. I don't like their other rebuilds. Ford probably has the best warranty on injectors, but some that's going to depend on your relationship with your local Ford dealer on how great they're going to be with you. So something to consider there. I do agree. I always replace a set. My preference is an entire set if I don't know how old they are. Now, if I have a set with 10,000 miles on it, and one goes bad, I'm going to replace the one. Unless I start having major issues, I'm going to replace the whole set with a different company. Why is Bill Hewitt's shop the only one that recommends Ford Gold and says never flush, only drain and refill Ford Gold coolant? How do you replace coolant on 6 blows? So I don't really know why he recommends that over some of the other ones, other than So Bill Hewitt, if you don't know, is no longer alive. He passed away, I believe, this past year. That shop is still operating. The people that used to work for him run it. I believe his wife is involved. So, excuse me, they're still a functioning shop. Ford Gold coolant is not bad coolant. It is maintenance heavy. It does require a lot of maintenance. So for that reason, I do kind of dislike it. But however, in the scheme of things, protecting like the engine block from cavitation and stuff, cooling oil, it does its job fine. It just doesn't last very long. I am a fan of cat coolant, the ECL rated stuff. As far as flushing goes, if you flush your system and you don't get water like right out of your engine right away and get coolant back in, you can develop rust issues pretty quick. And a lot of people kind of run into that issue. And then that will eventually, in the near future, as rust particles break off, they get caught in the oil cooler. So that becomes an issue. Other than that, I don't see why. I'm not a big chemical flush fan because, again, they tend to clog oil coolers when they're used. And a lot of people will replace an oil cooler, do a chemical flush, and then clog a new oil cooler right away. So I don't like that. But I overall disagree that it's the only coolant to recommend. I do think the cat coolant is plenty good. I think there's nothing wrong with draining your coolant completely, doing a flush or two just to get all the old crap out with like distilled water or something, and then putting in whatever coolant you want. The Ford Gold coolant, if you do a drain and fill with it, it will keep it going longer. So that's not really an issue either there. Man, the 6.7 is not getting a lot of love right now. We'll most likely replace one side, then ran a snap-on test and has good fuel pressure. First and J. Billy, not a problem, man. My pleasure to help. That's what I enjoy doing. And honestly, questions in the live stream and comments in the live stream make them fun. If it's just me talking for 2-3 hours without any interaction from you guys, these become boring pretty quick. So I do have up in the background, I'm not watching it yet, but the this fuel additive thing, this is the truth about diesel additives. Hotshot's secret marketing run amok. those will be two very interesting videos, I think, to watch in the very near future, probably after this live stream. So Drake, I don't typically man, I've gotten a lot of delete questions lately. So let's pretend we live in a world that racing, like the RPM Act, actually passed, and people are, there's a supported law that lets us kind of mess with these stuff in the aftermarket for off-road purposes. Honestly, that's this is all mythology. That's funny. No, I wouldn't say it's problematic. They don't look super clean, but there's probably a ridiculous amount of these trucks out there running that exact setup. So it's definitely not problematic. What will become problematic is as the EPA, in my opinion, as the EPA becomes more and more successful at shutting down freedom for the 6.7 and 6.4 platforms, they will eventually be shifting over to the 6-liter. Truthfully, there's also no harm in just leaving the valve in place. The valve in and of itself does not impede flow by any significant margin. It essentially just opens chamber from the EGR into the intake manifold and chokes the intake manifold out. But in and of itself, it does not, pulling that out does not add performance to the truck. There's also an argument that turbo vane sweeping doesn't function as well, and there can be some issues with the fan clutch based on it not being plugged in. So just some other things. Your truck will run fine without it plugged in, but those two things, your vane sweep at idle doesn't tend to work in most trucks when that's unplugged. So some people, they're cool with that. They don't care. Other people, it irritates the crap out of them. Just kind of goes back and forth. But no, essentially just blocking it off isn't going to harm the engine in any way, shape, or form, provided a piece of that plug doesn't break off into the engine, which I've never seen. So that's just the only way I would actually see anything happening. I do really wish the RPM Act would have passed, or some kind of off-road diesel would have passed, so that we can kind of continue to see some wild stuff in our sport. In these trucks that we all love to mess with, it would be but sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. I mean, I don't mind answering delete questions. I just don't necessarily tell people how to delete their vehicle. I'm not trying to get in any trouble with the EPA because I don't have enough money to deal with them. Greg, where did you throw in this picture of the big girl on Hamburg Hill? Do factory cats ever get clogged with soot or not at all? What's funny is I've never actually heard of one getting clogged. So I don't want to say they don't. I've just never actually have heard of it. So that's a tough one for me to answer. I've been around a lot of 6-liters. All right. We're at 18 votes on the poll so far, with the 6-liter being the best of all time by 50%. So 9 votes for that. The 7.3 coming in second so far at 33%, the 6.7 at 11%, and the 6.4 at 6%. So kind of interesting to see. I would have not quite at what I thought I was going to see in the poll. Kind of interesting to see things change up a little bit. But no, I do not see. I've not seen a clogged 6 liter cat. It would be. I'm sure. I have a hard time believing it's never happened. I think the issue is just more than not they're probably taking off trucks. Um, the factory exhaust is not terribly. This is one I don't think Ford's ever done as well as they have with the 6 liter as far as headroom and lack of restriction in certain areas. You know, the exhaust on the 6 liter is not super restrictive. Um, could it be better? Sure. But in the scheme of things, it's not bad. The 3 inch downpipe, which I don't love. I like a 3.5 inch. I run a 4 inch downpipe, but 3.5 is really good for what most people are gonna do. But they run a 3 from factory to 3.5 out the rest. It flows plenty. The air intake supports the stock injector and turbo very, very well. It can even handle the aftermarket tuning for a stock injector and turbo setup. So they had they had good built-in stuff to it, despite botching some major reliability issues with the truck and on initial production. The fuel pump, if it's healthy, can support almost 600 horsepower. That ain't bad. You know, mid to high 500s. That's pretty darn good for a truck that was never designed to make that kind of power from the factory. I don't know if Ford at one point had plans to initially up it. Like the 7.3 saw a lot of power increases over its lifespan. The 6 liter saw like a 10 pound-feet of torque increase in 05, and that was it. So I will say this: you are right. A lot of 6 liters still have factory exhaust, which is kind of nuts. Greg, when you say O2 sensor, are you talking which truck are you talking about? Are you talking 6.7? Because the 6 liter doesn't have any O2 sensors. There's no sensors in the exhaust of a 6 liter at all. Excuse me. There's an exhaust back pressure sensor in the driver's side exhaust manifold, but that's it. That's the closest you're going to get to it. Now, in a 6.7, it depends on the year. 15 and newer have at least 2. They may have gone more in some of these more recent years that I haven't been as up to date on. There might be more O2 sensors. The original 11 through 14s just had 1, but 15 has 2 of them. I don't know. I guess they're technically NOx sensors, not O2 sensors. There's a ton of sensors in the DPF of a 6.7. I did a video of taking down the one in my old 15, that 2015 I had, and showing all the different parts. And then I reinstalled it, which was a lot of fun. That was basically a video for doing a video. But at the end of the day, I mean, did okay. In a 2003, no O2 sensors in any of the exhaust of a 6 liter. I will say they're big cats as well. I don't think they're super restrictive, to be honest. I would say you'd have a hard time they sound so much better when you start getting rid of the factory, when the cat's out, when the factory muffler's out and you put in a more free-flowing setup, the exhaust does just sound better, but it's not necessarily directly related to, like, 4 and 5 inch exhausts do sound different on the trucks, but if you were to just put a pipe in where the cat was and a pipe where the muffler is, you would get a good sound out of the factory exhaust on the 6 liter. Why do some sixers get pounded for 250 and it's 5-1 stock bolts? Going to the grocery store blows bolts. I would be careful lifting to anybody willing to give an average time on lifting heads. I was at 190,000 miles, or excuse me, 180,000 miles on my truck. I didn't lift to hit a cracked cylinder head, which sucked. That's what led to me doing the head gasket job and build originally. Then there's plenty of guys out there with several 100,000 miles on it, running stock bolts, haven't had issues. I don't know. I wish I have guesses, but I don't have anything like really concrete to say, hey, this is why this doesn't happen, or this is why this does happen. My assumption is kind of stacking tolerances, meaning like maybe certain surfaces were prepped slightly better and the head casting was done slightly better. The torque sequence is pretty, it's kind of like, I don't want to say foolproof, but it's pretty darn close. But overall, there's no real rhyme or reason. There is a degree of luck of the draw. I haven't, the 110,000 miles I haven't heard as that. I will say this, my brother and I both have 6 liters. They're both well over that. My brother's never lifted a head yet. I think he's at 150,000 miles on his. So yeah, I don't know that I believe the average number, because I've heard of people going much lower than that and much higher as well. I've heard 06 was the magic year for some reason. No, for some reason, a lot of people on the internet and that are talking about 6 liters will say there's this like special year for them that is better than others. There really isn't a year that says, hey, I'm vastly better than this year out there. People have preferences to ones that they like. The 06 is obviously a good year in my opinion. But I think all year 6 liters were overall good. It's kind of like pick your poison of which stuff you feel like fixing. So also, those of you guys just coming in, don't forget to get in the poll and vote on your best Powerstroke engine that you think. We're at 18 votes. No, there really wasn't a magic year 6 liter. I did a video on best year 6 liter where I really focused on just the engine. And basically the early ones had their issues. The later ones had their issues. They all blew heads at similar points. The commonized engines that were later getting ready for the 6.4 production to start are not any better or worse than the earlier ones, in my opinion. Yeah, I just think that's silly, the way that's been blown out of proportion from what I've seen. A lot of people really talk a lot about that, and there's just no real rhyme or reason for why it is what it is. I think they all look really good. Don't get me wrong. I do think the only argument for one of the years being better than the other really comes in the later years with the better suspension, that came along with them, which gave you better turning radius, better ride quality. The slight update to the front end, I think, looks great too. So there's that as well. I think a lot of that is the highlights. I think I hit most of them. It's hard to tell. I would love to see more people in this poll, but I guess the 7 of you hanging out in here with me already voted. So what do you guys think about the different suspensions on the trucks? Anybody, I see there's a couple guys with olders, or anybody basically 99 through 04 was the same suspension. What do you think of that in comparison to the '05 through '07 suspensions? Those of you guys that have gotten to drive both of them, if anyone has. I will say this: the newer suspensions that I like, the 2016 I have, I know that is over 10 years newer than the '04 I have, but man, is it just so much nicer. Yeah, the coils are great. They are definitely my favorite. I wouldn't mind doing. I do want a 4-link at some point. Uh, I do have new videos on the 16 coming out here soon, where we did um, different taillights. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. I've worked the last 5 days in a row, and I'm a little tired. 4 12s and like a 9.5 hour day. I'm a little beat, but the headlights are changed out, the taillights are changed out. I'm testing different LED bulbs in my headlights, which I have to say I absolutely love. I am becoming a big fan of these bulbs. Stay tuned for me to actually review it. I do also like what's their name? Auxbeam. I like Auxbeam. These are Auxito that I'm testing right now, and they are just very, very nice. I'm sure the I haven't gotten a pair of Auxbeams in a while. Normally around Christmas time, I get a pair, but I have not this year. So, oh well. But the Auxito so far are killer. I'm going to actually change my fog lights out here in the near future as well and test them. I'm going to do a playlist of LEDs because I have some other ones that were sent to me and I don't love all of them. But I think what's kind of neat is I'm enjoying this new look as like the exterior look of the 6.7 kind of starts to come together a little bit of what I've been hoping to do for a while. I do really enjoy the way it's looking so far. So, and there'll be links to everything, of course. I'm trying to see what else there is. I will probably buy additional Auxito stuff for like my tow mirrors and stuff. I'll probably do them in that. And then I will probably end up in the 6-liter putting my old Auxbeam stuff in that at some point because the Auxbeam stuff is still really nice. It's cool how far LED lighting has come in the last. I used my first set of LEDs like 8 years ago, and they were really nice for up front, but they didn't have any like focus. When I put my high beams on, they didn't really have any focus to them. They just kind of put light everywhere. But it wasn't very intense light because it was so spread out. Whereas now, like they really do have LED lights kind of figured out. I kind of always felt like they would eventually overtake the other kind of light sources. I just didn't realize it would be this soon. I mean, at this point, truthfully, you're getting close to where I think we'll start seeing HIDs really fade out in the very near future. I think that's going to be a harder and harder market to deal with. You have more wiring, more interference nonsense with them. I think it'll be halogens for cheap lights, and I think it'll be LEDs for high-end stuff. But I do think HIDs are on the verge of being done. Not to rock the boat, but I'm thinking of selling the 6.0 and keeping the 06 24 valve. Talk me out of it. I just don't need both. Hear me out. Sell the 24 valve. All right, all kidding aside, It's kind of a tough one. Because I think you said your 6-liter has 400,000 miles. How many miles does your Dodge have? I'm going to try to answer this in the most unbiased way possible, which is very hard because I obviously have a pretty strong bias. And while I'm waiting for you to answer about how many man, both of them have some mileage. Are both of them rust free? Because your 6-liter is getting to that point, even if head gaskets haven't gone, your 6-liter is getting to that point where if you don't have blow by at 400,000, you're about to start getting it. I'm not trying to give you a hard time at all. But it is just kind of where it is. And there's no scenario of Asheville engines. There's no scenario of you getting a new engine in there like less than, gosh, I want to say at least $8,000. I'm quick trying to double check something here. So you can get a studded long block from Asheville Engines, which is my current preference. The way Kill Devil has currently acted, I don't know that I really can support them at this point. So Asheville is what I wish I just went Asheville. So studded long block, $5,800. They have them in stock now. They come with a 1-year repair and replacement warranty, labor not covered. So that the labor not covered part sucks, but you can add labor to them. A stage 2 cam, which I would recommend, is $800. O-ringed heads. This is where it starts to kind of get pricey. $7, you're probably talking $3. Yeah, I mean, you're talking $8,000 to be able to pretty much replace that. And then that's not even including the idea of your transmission, your power, your whole drive line has that. I'd probably consider trying to sell both and buy another one of what you liked most. Unless you're willing to put the money into one of them. That Cummins, if it hasn't killed a transmission yet, it's going to soon. You just have a lot of miles, and it's a terrible transmission that they put in it. And building them to last and be reasonable is expensive. Okay, we'll just sell that thing. Find the cheapest transmission you can, put in it to keep it going, and sell the thing. Get a junkyard transmission with a 60-day warranty or something like that. Cram it in and call it. Get rid of that. Does the 6-liter need anything right now? If the 6-liter doesn't need anything, I do still think it's an overall better truck. 24 valves are not bad trucks. I'm not giving this isn't really me giving it crap, but likely it's worth a little bit more money to sell it, whereas your 6-liter probably at 400,000 miles, it starts to become a really hard sell. Get a junkyard transmission, put it in the Dodge, sell it, keep running the 6-liter. I think is probably your best bet. I hate to say financial decision because any of these trucks are just bad financial decisions, but Doug, that's terrible advice. Don't tell him to put a 24 valve in the Super Duty. We don't need more of those abominations running around. There's enough of them going already. Do-do. Drake, that's a good question, though. The 5R is a really good transmission. However, it's not, I mean, it was never really meant to last that long. But I'd probably stick with the 6-liter, truthfully. Like, I mean, I know that's me being a little biased, but I think overall that's probably your best bet. The polls. Let's see here. We got 21 votes now. 48% in the polls for the 6-liter being the best Powerstroke. 33% for the 7.3, which has been pretty unchanged. The 6.7 does move ahead of the 6.4. It's now 14%. So that's kind of cool to see how that's evolving. Mongoose, did you vote in the polls? But yeah, Drake, it's just getting to a point where again, if the 6-liter doesn't need anything, I'd keep it. I'd probably get the extra money out of the Dodge and invest it in my 6-liter. That's what I think. Put DK heads in mind when I had to get a new motor imported, but I've heard some good stuff about DK. Kill Devil heads are not bad either. I think they have some of the more advanced heads. I think they've helped pioneer some of the changes. I will say just some of how I was treated with my last fiasco that I'm still dealing with some repercussions of. I just don't really recommend them. Powerstroke products, another great company with a ton of good reviews. Very little controversy circling around Powerstroke products, and I think that's important. That being said, do they have maybe some of the more wild stuff that's out there? No, I don't believe they have like aluminum heads for any of the trucks. Well, the 6.7, because they're just refurbing those. But I'm pulling up their stuff now. I think they also sell a cam. Yeah. They have a performance package, which is 100-pound springs, push rods, stage 1 cam, and lifters for $3,220. It's a good price, truthfully. Mongoose, how are you doing, brother? Anthony Youngblood says, change the training fluid every 30K and you'll never lose a tranny, but nobody ever does change. He is correct in the sense of nobody changes it. I don't know about saying you'll never lose one. However, it would become very, very rare to lose a 5R. The 5R is one of the best transmissions Ford has ever put out. It improved on the 4R significantly. The 5R was just ahead of its time. It's such a great transmission. It really was good. The 6R is another good, like Ford has been very consistent in putting out better and better transmissions and not just adding gears to them, but then performing better. I don't know about the 10-speed overall as far as longevity, but I've heard good things about it so far. It certainly isn't a bad transmission, but the 5R, I think, was a solid 5 years ahead of its time to what anyone else was putting out on the market. I bet you'd probably be good if you replaced your fluid every 50K. But people are not replacing their transmission fluid nearly often enough. And it needs to be done. Mongoose, what year truck do you have, man? The 2020, I believe, was the first year of the 10-speed, and I'm sure there were some kinks as it got out there, but to my knowledge, it's relatively unchanged from the 2020 year. So I believe they have it kind of figured out at this point. I'm trying to look and see if I can find exactly. I think I found the Auxito bulbs I have. And I don't think. Let's take a look here at aux beam. Sorry, I pulled up. I closed out a page and Amazon was up, and it just kind of reminded me that I was looking at it. Just seeing if Auxbeam has updated their bulb to. Doesn't look like they've changed much on it. Jay, I missed your original one. Hey, man. Those of you guys just coming in, don't forget to hit up the poll here for best Powerstroke engine. You have a 2021 F550 on a Thor Magnet RV Super C. Oh, shoot, man. That's a monster. And you have your 05 350 crew cab long bed. What's kind of funny, Mongoose, is you have a similar setup to me in the sense of you have both engines and they're both slightly newer than mine. But same overall idea. Ordered an O-Dog. I'm still looking for the intercooler and pipes. Thanks again. Jay, I'm sorry. I did see your comment and I couldn't remember if I responded. I was just answering comments before I went live. So, Jay, let me ask you this. Are you looking for just reliability and an all-metal intercooler, or are you looking for some better performance? That'll change where I send you. And then intercooler pipes, are you looking for a reasonable budget option, or are you looking for something kind of on the high end? Because I can go back and forth on a couple different setups with all of this and kind of get you some links. Mongoose, Kryptonite wheel bearings, I saw them too. And I'm unsure. So here's where I have an issue. I have a hard time telling somebody to buy something I don't know enough about. Kryptonite is a really good name. I'm actually looking them up right now. So when I redo all of my 6-liter, I'm probably going to do all Mevotech. All the steering components will probably be Mevotech, the wheel bearings, Mevotech. For my 6.7, I will probably look more at this Kryptonite stuff, something I'll probably look at the more high end stuff. You know, they are more expensive overall. And I will say this though, like I look at their ball joints, and at least from the picture, which pictures are not everything, I don't know how they could be better than the Mevotech that I know I already like. Now their wheel bearing is different, obviously speaking. I don't know. They're a good company in a lot of ways, and it would be hard to believe that they did a bad job. But I will say this, for the 99 through 04s, they're sold out. Let's take a look at some newer trucks. Kryptonite does just have a lot more for the newer trucks out there. Are they expensive? $440 a wheel bearing. Now they say lifetime warranty, so there is that to consider. I will say this: Timken is a known good brand. I like I like Timken. It's hard for me to get away from Timken in that regard. Are they rebuildable ones? No, they're not. I will say this: I don't mind pressing in and out ball joints ever since I got a big heavy duty press and an impact gun. It doesn't bother me to press ball joints in and out. Is it a fun job? No, but it certainly isn't the worst job ever. So the rebuildable ones don't really do it for me, especially because eventually they'll go to. Wanted to change these just times, so looking for reliability as well as performance. So Jay, you have a couple options of what you could do here. So you could go the full Banks kit, first and foremost. It is a expensive option, yes. However, so Jay, what year truck do you have? I can't remember. Sorry, guys, I hit a button on my mouse and it kicks me out. That was a completely my thing. That was not any YouTube nonsense. That was me being an idiot. 07. So, okay. So I'm going to send you an affiliate link here, and this is going to be the bank setup. It is very expensive. It is still arguably one of the best setups you could do. Here's option 2. You could, and I'm going to put my turbo sponsor down here with my affiliate link. So any discounts that can be applied, you can get 10% off. It is not every item. It is specific to their turbos normally, but just in case, you could go to my turbo sponsor there, turbotimeusa.com, and buy a set of SoCal Billet intercooler pipes. Super high-end stuff, super nice, great quality. Definitely up there as far as top-tier products. And then you could go to rockauto.com and get a CSF 6028. The Banks is going to be a little more expensive. It flows really well. People love that kit. a little more squeezing parts in there, but overall, super nice stuff. The other way with the SoCal billet pipes from TurboTime USA and the 6030 or 6028 from Rock Auto. Also another really good setup. Both of them are top tier recommendations that I would say are up there to consider. Either one of them will serve you well. There's some other good pipes out there. Blessed Performance makes decent pipes. I haven't personally ran them, but I know they're nice. No Limit Fab. I do have No Limit on my truck, but I'll probably be switching my pipes out in the near future to buy the SoCal billet ones. But those would be my top recommendations right now. Either one of them you'll be super, super happy with. They are expensive. There are cheaper options out there. I don't really recommend them, especially like from a buy once, cry once kind of perspective. And what you do, like, keeping your truck super reliable, actually getting a performance enhancement along with reliability. Let's see here. Greg, I hear you on the ball joint deletes. I have heard they are really meant for off-road, and that's where they should stay. You said reliable. You're probably talking... well, let me look it up. I can tell you what the cost difference is here in a second. I just have to find where they have the... Okay, here it is. So the SoCal billet stuff is under accessories. So their piping kit and clamps, it comes with boots, clamps, and obviously hot and cold side pipes. They are $600 for everything. And they look pretty. Now, let's go to Rock Auto. So Rock Auto has the intercooler for $404 right now. Let's say $50 shipping to be safe, depending on where you live. I'd be shocked for it to be more than that. So about $450. So you're probably about $300 difference. Yeah. You're about $1,100-ish into one setup. And then the Banks is $1,459. So you're about $300 to $350 difference between the two. I think both are great options. And I think both would make you very happy. It is hard for me to say one would be significantly better. The Banks is the more expensive one. The only thing that interests me about the Banks and why I put it in the running, because you can get away with cheaper setups overall for both of these. These are both super high-end things. But they go to 3.5-inch intercooler tubes, and the factory ones are only 3-inch. So you do get a ease of flow. I think there's a chance they are probably a better setup. But again, I think you're splitting hairs. I think you'll be very, very happy with each. I have not heard somebody mad at either of the setups I just recommended, and nor should they. At the price of both of them combined, like it's a lot of money. So yeah, they better be good stuff. The CSF intercooler is definitely the best performance intercooler for the money. It is starting to creep very close to the budget Mishimoto one. So it's definitely hard to say. Jay, I wish I could give you a concrete answer but I'll say they are my two recommendations at this time. You'll love both of them. Osage. Drake, can you? Oh, I don't want to say so. I don't want to say it's too much air for a factory setup. I do think if you're running stock turbo and injectors, I think, and that's any of the stock turbos from the 03, which was the biggest, excuse me, to the 05, which was the smallest. I don't want to say that they're too much air for the factory setup. I do think the sweet spot for an exhaust system on 6 liters for a build of the caliper I'm talking is a 3.5-inch downpipe to 4-inch out the back. I think a 4-inch downpipe like I have to whatever kind of exhaust from there, because you're flowing so much, it isn't really a big deal at that point. I think you're talking big horsepower at that point. Jay, so my question is, which one do you think you want to get? I will say this. I would love one day to test both side by side in the same day. I think that'd be kind of fun. It'd be very hard to do, but I think it would be a cool little experiment. I know I can switch them out fast enough to make it relevant for one another, but nice. Hey man, if you use my link to buy it, that does go back and support the channel. You certainly don't have to. There's other places to buy it from. I'm sure banks themselves, Extreme Diesel. Don't buy from Sinister just because they annoy me. But yeah, anything you guys do, I do always appreciate. I'm trying to think here. So, Drake, in the end, no, I don't think it's too much for the factory exhaust. I just think there's a better exhaust setup overall. But I do think adding the O-Dog is one of the best things that anybody can do, even if it's their only under-engine mod. I think it is good in every single aspect of it. Jay, thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. That does. Truthfully, you guys always have options to buy from other places. I do appreciate the support you guys show me, and like I said, it all comes back into the channel. Drake, what's your current setup? Are you looking at doing an O-Dog, or have you, and you're trying to figure out if you need to do an exhaust on the truck? Can you explain the difference between tunes like Atlas 40 and a tune that a ship would do for when you get larger injectors? Drake, are you comparing PCM tuning like on an SCT versus FICM tuning, or are you talking the different FICM tuners that are out there? I'm going to just kind of talk about both, but I do want to just make sure if you could let me know which PCM versus FICM. Okay. So PCM versus FICM. Think of PCM as like a gross tune, like a large tune file. It kind of encompasses everything. Your FICM tune really can only control parameters to the injectors. There's overlap between the two. Putting a 140 horsepower tune on your truck with the PCM and a 40 horsepower FICM tune does not equal 180 horsepower. There's overlap. So Ficum tuning, and I'm excited to kind of get into this and mess with this a lot more on my truck. Ficum tuning is a lot more like fine tuning. So think of it that way. Some people say there's less smoke output when they're driving normally. There's better throttle response. It's going to help especially bigger injectors. It can help really kind of quiet things down, help them idle smoother. Again, kind of just perform better. The PCM tuning is the large majority of what the tune is, but a Ficum tune in conjunction with the two kind of helps pull everything together. If I only could do one, it would be PCM tuning with an SCT device, and I'd call it a day. Since we can do both, I do plan to do both, although it is kind of expensive. I think I was looking up, Blessed Performance has his stuff here, and I think you can do it for $100, or you can get like his actual module sent out for Ficum tuning. I think that's like $400. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, it's been a long week here. I'm quick looking for his Ficum tuner. So he does have custom Ficum tune for $100. He can obviously tune and send one out to you. But there was one that had just I'm gonna find it. But I want to say it was like, I don't know. It was like $400 for everything. I can't find it right now. Maybe it's here. Here we go. Yeah, so it's a $400 device. Anyway, I digress. And I think it's about the same. Like if you get the PHP Ficum tuner, there's a lot of other people messing with it as well. Like it's not just a person or two. I don't know if you can still rent. I don't know if you can still just get. You used to be able to buy them, and what they did is they turned old Edge tuners into it. But now Power Hungry Performance doesn't really. Ficum tuning / rental. Ficum tune rental program 100. So it's, wow, that's expensive to keep your hands on one of those. I would really like to keep my hands on one of them though. Like I want one of each. This is my forever truck. Heck yeah, man. To pull your fifth wheel for years to come. Just retired. Jay, congrats, man, on retirement. I think we may have I don't know if I realized you were actually retired. Congratulations, man. What did you do? What was your career in life? But congrats, that's freaking awesome. And it is Jay's right. The Amazon link is the one for my for the bank setup. Let's see here. Drake, you got an 06 350 dually. I love dually trucks. I'd love to try one. An Atlas 40 stock bolts. 52,000 miles, man. That's nuts. So with your setup, man, so with the stock bolts, I probably wouldn't do a PCM tune. I'd probably just leave the Atlas 40 on there and just kind of ride that out for now until you can turn around and until it's time to do studs. I mean, I guess you could run, let me retract that a little bit. There's nothing wrong with just running the Atlas 40. You could turn around and do just a light toe tune. Maybe even something like Gearhead offers like a no fuel toe tune. Those two coupled together would probably be pretty nice. So, but I wouldn't go crazy on a tune with it until you're ready to do studs. Guys, I am so sorry I keep yawning. Voice/data high-tech Japanese company. Cool. That's neat, man. Again, congratulations on retirement. I look forward to one day potentially being able to retire, although sometimes I get more and more worried that will never happen for me at the current rate of certain things in the world. But I do want to quick ask, how are you guys liking, this is like our fourth, I think I missed last week or the week before. How are you guys liking? Are you guys enjoying the live streams coming back and pretty significantly at that? Can't retire if you own a 6.0. You're the most negative 6-liter owner I know. That's the point of the channel. If you had a bad paint job, would you go back to factory white or get creative? So it is not out of the realm of reality that I would one day get the 6-liter painted, just because I do plan to keep it. It's hard to say if I would go back to just the same Oxford white, just new. There's a good chance I would go with the like a pearlescent white that has the pearl coat in it. I think they look really, really cool. It's hard to say if I would do it on that truck or if I would want a newer truck. Like, I think overall it would look better on the 6.7, but I think it would still look good on a 6-liter. That would be tough. If there was no cost difference, I would say probably like a pearlescent white that's become more popular. But there's probably a really good chance I would turn around and just stick with the same Oxford white that's on my 6-liter. But those would be my two back and forths. So nothing super exciting or creative there, but yeah, that's a tough one. There's a good chance I'd just stay white. But if I bought a new, well, thank you guys. Bro, these things are money pits, but I love it. Jay, I bought mine in 2000. No, I bought mine in 2012, right before I turned 22, or was it right after I turned 22? I got hit by a drunk driver, and then I had to turn around and Then I needed a Super Duty. I just had to buy one. That's what took place there. Thank you guys for all the kind words on the stream. I really do appreciate it. I'm hoping they start growing and getting busier again. We used to get like 30, 40 people in these. It was a lot of, these are still fun for me, but they just used to be bigger and a great time to hang out the whole time. Totally agree, but if I bought a new 85 to 100K, what would I buy? If I was buying brand new, I love an all black truck. I just realized this shows up in here. This is actually from a subscriber that I won. Kind of neat. Sorry. I have random stuff lying around. I really like that plaque. So I love an all black truck. Again, I'm a sucker for that pearlescent kind of finish in it. So that would be my go-to probably. But they also have a really nice, like a red. I'm looking it up now. And it's not that fire engine red nonsense. That's dumb. Is it maroon maybe? I don't know if they still make it in the brand new trucks, but there's like in the 2017s there was a maroon truck and it just looked absolutely amazing. I loved the I loved the look of it. But those would be my two top, and I do like the white trucks. I don't want 3 white trucks. So it would be between a black or that like maroon. It's not like a true burgundy. It is like a real like dark maroon though. And I think that would look really cool with like a lot of small black accents like headlights, darkened taillights, which is just kind of my thing. I like that look. Let's see here. New trucks have all types of possible issues. They do. But is it really any more issues than 2016's, truthfully? I don't think they're that much worse. Drake, thanks, man. Love your knowledge. High output or regular new 6.7? I actually should do a video on this topic. I hate that Ford did this. Absolutely hate that Ford turned around and did a high output version. First, they copied something that a company that they're killing in sales, Dodge, has done. You know, they're doing better at selling trucks. So why would you do a marketing technique employed by your competition that even they're getting away from? As for what would I buy? I have a hard time justifying a high output 6.7, and I probably wouldn't. I'd probably just tune especially because it's mostly tuning that's different, and I'd probably just get a carb compliant like a Banks Deranger tuner and make more power than the stock high output. And if I had to guess, a high output probably taps out at the same max as a tuned standard. I really do hate the high output option. Just make a standard across the board. I want the standard to be the high output, but just make it across the board. But it's more money, and truthfully, you're not going to need that additional power. I love the idea of having it. It's just not going to give you something that you actually are going to use, probably ever. So for me, standard is where I would probably go. If money was no option, definitely high output, but I just don't think it's worth it. I look at Syncro new trucks whenever I want to justify upgrade goodies for the 6.0. Yeah, that's an easy way to make you realize upgrading a 6 liter is still a good option. And I love how hard you can push 6 liters when you're working them too. Harley Davidson Burgundy. Is that what it's called? Daily Driver's a 15 Platinum All Black 150. Sharp daily driver, man. With the dually, would I lose anything with a 6-inch lift? Yes. Because you're going to go, I'm going to assume you're going to go to a bigger tire size. So you will kind of mess up your final gear ratio. You could mess around and change it a little bit. But I don't think you're not going to like ruin the truck per se. You'll still be able to drive the truck and use it for stuff, but you're not necessarily like setting it up how it is. Eric, do you tow at all? Gears 433s. Like the truck will drive and run fine, but typically like the reason people get dualies, you kind of lose a little bit. You could go to like a 4, I think there's like 456s. Excuse me. I would probably drive and see how I like it. It'll still tow pretty good, but it's going to be harder. You tend to start at 6 inches. You tend to start messing up like the angle of your camper and such while trying to tow. So I certainly don't recommend towing 6-inch lifted, but you can. 4 I think is more comfortable, but yeah, does that kind of answer it? Like, yeah, you kind of do start to mess like how a dually's meant to run, but you kind of mess those drive ratios up more towards like a standard 250 is geared. So if you're towing what a 250 is, you probably don't have any issues. Where that is a bad idea when you're really pushing it to the max as far as weight with that dually and that kind of setup. But overall, it will still run and drive quite nice. It'll really be towing that you potentially notice some frustrations. Jay South, nice to have. Well, welcome to the live stream, man. You're having trouble with your truck, blowing white smoke sometimes hard. Start. What would be your take on this problem? Could it be injectors? So is it like a constant haze? Like once the truck warms up, it lightens up, but you still always have a haze? Or is it a constant, excuse me, man, I'm struggling, guys. Nope, you're not the person that asked her. Oh, wait, no. Man, there's a guy that's commenting on a best year 6.7 truck, and he is an angry man. So angry. I'm trying to find a anyway, we're good. A lot of smoke, doesn't bog down, white constant. Is your truck idling smoothly? And is your truck idling smoothly? Is your tailpipe wet? This will kind of tell us what direction to go in as far as like potentially what you have going on. Hey man, Eric, well, I mean, they're definitely the 11 had its fair share of issues, but there's still a ton of them out there with really high mileage. So don't worry about it not being the best year. Man, guys, I am so sorry. we'll probably start coming to a close after we answer Jay South and kind of get him pointed in the right direction. I will probably close things down and get ready to go to bed. Okay. The rough idle helps. If you're going to say smooth idle, then I'd say that you probably, then I would need the other part of that. But for this, rough idle, first thing I would do is I would check for codes. Get the codes read, find out if anything pops up, any contribution codes. I don't think it's an injector. When injectors in 6 liters fail, they tend to idle really smooth still, and they just have like a constant haze. That would explain hard start. I think you might have a compression issue in your truck. I mean, that's a very like loose call. Are you getting any like loud noises coming out of the intake? Like, I had a cracked rocker arm that that was letting air escape back out. Excuse me, my intake, and that kind of was an issue. I don't think it's a head gasket. That's not typically how head gaskets fail in those trucks. And again, this is hard because it's not here for me to see and hear and mess with. So the first thing I would do is I would check codes on it. See if there's any codes popping up. There's super cheap scanners out there that you can get that will tell you this information. There's also Forescan you can use that's cheap. Torque Pro with an OBD2 Bluetooth. Let's see here. Yeah, $22 on Amazon, $25 on Amazon. Advanced Auto can read for free as well. So that's one thing to kind of consider. Oh, perfect. So, Jay South, I would get that read, see what codes are popping up, because that'll give us a better understanding. From there, I would jump the starter and see if I have like an even crank to kind of rule that out more. This is how I would approach this process to determine what I need to do from here. Those are the top ones I would try at this time. I wouldn't go further than that. If I had an even crank and I wasn't getting any codes, I would then say to consider an EGR, but I would be very surprised if your EGR was causing this. I want to say you probably have a bigger issue. Eric, can I just see your comment about 35s on for 30s is similar to the stock? Yep, that is. It might actually be more like a in between 373s and 410s with that setup, because I think 35s and with 410s is similar to stock gearing. Jay South, check those things though, and then get back. When you try to jump the starter with there's a starter wire over on the passenger side, you can unhook and touch the positive battery terminal. Your truck won't start, but it'll try to cycle. Don't do it for more than 5 seconds at a shot. You can burn your starter up pretty quick. But that's where I would start, with those things, and then kind of move forward. If you have a uneven crank, then it's either a rocker arm is bad or broke that could be causing it, or you're talking about a potential bottom end issue. Those are kind of the two things where I don't mean to scare you, because there are a few other things that could be it, but get me that information and we'll start going from there. And well, guys, I think I'm gonna not quite as long as I was hoping to go, but I am pretty exhausted. But I wanted to stay true to my word of doing these on Sundays. There will be one next Sunday, so stay tuned for that. Probably start a little earlier, probably more of like a 9:30 live stream coming next week is going to be the goal. I want to thank all of you. We're going to end the poll. 24 votes. There are our results. Mongoose, not a double shift, but I did in the last 5 days. I did 4 12s and like a 9.5 hour day, and I'm a little tired. So comes with the territory. Doug, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. J South, you can. I'm trying to think. Let me give you my Instagram handle. That's my Instagram. There is an H in there. Or you can email me that same handle with at gmail.com, or just message on the channels. If you don't hear back from me, message on the channels. One of, just the recent video, just send me a message on there and we'll talk. So thank you, everybody. Everybody have a good night. Have a good start to your week. Any of you guys driving in the snow, which hopefully I'm one of them tomorrow, drive carefully and have some fun. So take care. Thank you, everybody, for all the support. I really appreciate it.